Greetings and namaste. This is Shiva, your friendly neighborhood, online, co-creator in wellness, pursuing the mission of wellness for all. Wellness for you, wellness for me, wellness for everything you and I touch. If you had a chance to catch my quote video for the day, this is maybe a continuation of that. So the quote, in case you didn't catch it, was know both sides. And one can go even further. One can go into knowing many sides, many perspectives, many viewpoints of an issue or a particular context, situation, and really explore it from many angles. For me, I think the most encouraging, or not encouraging, I mean definitely encouraging, but the most consistently overwhelming feedback I've gotten during my professional corporate career was around cross-functional leadership. I was able to rally together different teams, different subject matter experts, different disciplines toward something that created value for the organization and its stakeholders, and of course its customers. We were serving people who were pretty much not enjoying a good quality of life. In fact, they were at the risk of losing life altogether. And so we helped both extend lives, save lives, and increase quality of life. But I think the reason why I got acknowledged for that trait or talent or skill or whatchamacallit was I've always been interested in intersections and connections and how things come together, how they intertwine, how things weave, how one thing leads to another, and to the point where everything sort of melds together into this connected whole, and boundaries are just semantics. They don't really exist, definitely not energetically, and they're pretty pretty wispy at best if you think of them even physically. So I think that interdisciplinary bent of mind or thinking, if you will, led to my being able to connect with different groups of people and find that glue that got us all moving forward together as a team towards one common goal of creating value for the organization and meeting the needs and concerns of our customers and stakeholders. But the topic I have today is, what are the sides of COVID? If many of us are just reeling under the craziness of the year 2020 has been. I mean, I'm in Minneapolis. If COVID wasn't enough, we had one of the biggest, race-related movements spring up here. This was the epicenter of the whole George Floyd chain of events, and COVID wasn't yet over. So trust me, I know, I have a sense of how crazy things can get really fast, and how what one took for granted just yesterday seems so far removed from the reality of today that it's almost like a question of which one was real. Was it yesterday, or is it today? And search me, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But if we sort of apply that quote, that philosophy, that interdisciplinary mindset that multiple perspectives mindset to COVID, what comes up for you? So I'm gonna be on topic here, right? I mean, this whole effort, my whole mission, hopefully your mission, if you're here, hopefully there's this much or that much of you that believes in it, and I'm thankful for your support. But the mission is wellness, so if I put on my wellness hat and I think about what's the wellness opportunity COVID has created? Well, I'm sure we've got our frustrations of being homebound or having to homeschool children or not having, help with certain things that we were used to, or having our routines be dismantled beyond recognition. Can't go to the gym anymore, can't go to the restaurant to have my favorite Chinese stir fry, can't go to the movies to see the summer blockbuster I was waiting for, can't do this, that, the other thing. But what's the opportunity, right? We can complain all day long and it's not going to do anything for uplifting us or boosting our positive energy bank. So let's maybe try to boost that and use this whole look at things differently, put on different hats to help that cause. So from a wellness perspective, I've actually noticed a bunch of things. Well, one, I saw more birds this year in my backyard than I have in all the years combined that I've lived in this house. And I'm talking double digits here. So all those years, I have not seen as many birds. I have not heard as many birds. I have not clicked as many pictures of said birds, and not been as inspired by just that diversity and richness that I see as I have this year. It's amazing to me. It's like having a sanctuary in my own backyard, a retreat, which by the way was what I'd kind of designed anyway, but I was thinking more around foliage and landscaping, not so much birds. I wasn't at the bird level yet, but boy, now I have a different tune I'm singing, literally. The air. My mom, she walks. She's not very mobile in the sense that she doesn't drive, and we tried, especially in COVID times, we tried to keep her out of trouble by minimizing her going out. So she likes to stroll on our deck, and that's how she gets her steps in. But she told me the air is much cleaner, which it was. It smells different, it feels different, it energizes differently. At the peak of COVID, there was minimal traffic, so we're pretty close to a freeway, and it's been more of a white noise thing, but every once in a while you do hear screeches and motorcycles and things of that nature that really cut through the air and get to the ear. But that silence that it brought was like being again in a retreat of some sort, and it was so nourishing to feel that silence, and not just that external silence, but also the silence of emails and phone calls, as everyone was sort of laying low literally and trying to figure what the heck are we dealing with. So those are just a couple of aspects of wellness, and I think the big opportunity that most people, I'm hoping, have had a chance to experiment with, or at least get a taste of in this time, is just the pause. That busyness came to a standstill, and it wasn't like when you go on vacation and the emails still pile up, so it's not really a vacation. You kind of have to get so much stuff done before you go on vacation, then you have to, do all that catching up when you are done with vacation. And sometimes you might wonder, was it worth it, or was it more stress just trying to keep up with everything that had not stopped while I was trying to take a pause, or you were take a pause for yourself. But this was like the world was on pause, and that was not an opportunity I think most of us might have seen in this lifetime. And that gave us a chance to explore what wellness truly is. Granted, it might be driven by fear of, I don't want to catch COVID. I can't afford COVID to come even near my house, because then it'll, for example, I've got an elderly mother, I've got young kids, and, if one gets it, then basically it runs through the house pretty much, and you're done for, right? Where does that leave you? And even if it's not, life or death or something, it's still, who wants to fall sick? Who wants to be unwell? But I think the whole COVID thing really put a new spin on things. Let's think about it for a second. What other perspectives come up for you? I've spoken more about maybe the outside stuff. How does it make you feel? How did that downtime make you feel? How did that forced staycation make you feel? How did it, if you have dogs, cats, pets, Netflix, family, friends, any, roommates at home, how was it like spending time with them day in and day out, if they chose to partake of the curfews and the stay-at-home rules? I know there's rule breakers and people who have different theory on things, but there's been more people who've passed away than not. I think I ran some, really basic stats through Wikipedia, just looking at celebrity deaths, because it just seemed like there was all this like traffic on the phones and messages and social media about so and so person dying and so person sick and so person, fighting for life, having been afflicted with COVID. And you're like, is it just because there's all these people that are paying so much attention to COVID that we're just hearing a lot more news? Is it just being reported more, or is it a true fact? So I ran some basic stats, and it did seem from my analysis that there was an uptick, at least as far as celebrity or famous people dying went, compared to last year. I did 2019 versus 2020. It's like I think a 30% uptick, almost month over month, which is significant, right? So that being the side we kind of understand and are familiar with, the other wellness side that resonated for me was internal. So internally, being given that pause, almost, thinking of it in serendipitous terms, as long as, since I was lucky enough not to have COVID, or maybe it was by design, and maybe some of my own doing that prevented it from happening, but gave me a chance to explore my options for wellness, right? So I could do two things. I could be more aware, first off, of my inner environment. How am I doing internally? Am I happy? Or am I stressed out? Am I finding meaning in what I do every day, or am I just kind of going through the motions? Do I have strong bonds with my kids, with the people I care about? Or have I lost touch? Have I drifted away over time? And it was a bit of mixed bag, right? But it helped me consider, it helped me be more mindful. COVID created that space to look at that which was that close to me, but maybe not seen. And then I could see it. And I could step back and say, okay, how am I gonna make sure I stay healthy? How am I gonna make sure my family stays healthy? How am I gonna make sure I know my neighbors are okay? How am I gonna make sure my community is not burning down, right? And so, it sort of grew from there. And we all have different ways of attacking that problem, but for me, I paid more attention to what I was eating. I did experiment, I gotta be honest. I kind of looked at, okay, if I have, an omelet in the morning, and I put that in this, and I, have it at so-and-so time, how does my energy feel for the rest of the day? Or if I delay breakfast for a certain amount of time while I do some other things, including my workout, how does that day go? If I have, fruit first and then have other foods, how does that go? And Ayurveda, for example, suggests that one should have fruit before any food. And I think my simple explanation for that is, fruits are easily digestible. They get broken down into simple sugars, so if you have them, say, after having a heavy meal, which is like maybe oily or has a lot of animal protein that you need to digest, the fruit's just gonna sit on top of that food, right? It's gonna wait its turn, and by the time it's time for fruit to be digested, it might be too late. It might have like putrefied, or might not be in an optimal state for digestion. At that point, it might be just like, oops, what the heck is that, and it's more on the way to elimination. So like in my yoga teacher training, my teacher said, we say about fruit that fruit plays alone. So that's maybe the best way to look at it, is just have fruit by itself. Just enjoy its sweetness, enjoy its juiciness, enjoy its color, its texture, its smell, its shape, its feel, and just literally savor it. So again, mindful eating, we spoke about that. I sort of had a little acronym for you: aware and clear. You can go back to that video if you'd like to see what that means in terms of the eating process. And of course, Ayurveda has its own deal on eating, which of course I also want to do a video on. It's called Ahar Vidhi. But here's some of the ways of stoking that internal wellness, that internal fire, and getting that confidence that yes, I'm healthy. Because a virus or any other disease needs an environment to prosper. And if that environment is denied or is not made available, then what's the virus gonna do? It's gonna say, well, I guess I'm out of luck, right? So that's the principle that I first focused on. And as we started to know more about precautionary measures, as a family, we decided that we were just going to limit our movements, because in terms of external influences, I can have the best immunity in the world, but if I put myself in risky situations where my immunity is either compromised or under attack, or having to constantly put up a defense, eventually it's gonna break down. I need to balance that with nourishment. I mean, I can go to the front lines, but I can't do that on a regular basis, which is why, I say God bless the nurses and the doctors and the healthcare staff that do it on a daily basis. And I don't think they're necessarily getting the break they need. They're getting breaks, but I think it could be more generous. But I had that choice, right? I had that flexibility. So as a family, we decided that here's what we know about immunity. We gotta be strong ourselves. And 2, we've gotta try and avoid risk. So the risk we want to avoid is, first off, exposure. Avoid exposure to a potential COVID environment if possible. That includes like the mail coming in our door. We let the mail sit outside. And we're not gonna start washing envelopes or things of that nature, but we just let it sit outside our door. And we had a vestibule. So we basically retrieve the mail and put it in the vestibule, let it sit there for a day, sometimes even 2, and then look at it. So those little things, right? Of course, hygiene, washing hands, not letting your hands go to your eyes, ears, nose, mouth, unless you really have to do that and they're clean. And taking showers out after exposure. We do have to go buy groceries, we do have to go buy milk for the kids, things of that nature. So coming home, staying away from people, no hugs until we've showered, that type of thing. And not everyone going out necessarily, one person going out, doing the stuff, coming back, and going through the disinfect routine. Did all that, took care of our digestion, because in Ayurveda, digestion is key. I mean, that's the first sign of something, the system complaining, right? When you're constipated or you're having the loosies, those are signs of something's not quite right, or gas even. So paying attention to those signs, having digestives, making sure we're having healthy food, home cooked food, nutritious food. Did all of that. But coming back to COVID, our deal was, okay, one's exposure, one's frequency, one's duration, one's concentration, and one's all of the prophylactic stuff, right? The precautionary measures. So first off, you want to limit your exposure. Okay, if it's not possible to not be exposed, then you've got to limit the duration. When you go out there, you've got to limit the duration of that exposure. Go to the grocery store, but don't spend 2 hours there, right? In any case, they've stopped samples here, for example, so it makes it easier to go to the store faster, especially stores like Costco, where even to get one thing, it takes 15 minutes. Simply go in the store, get it, get in line, and come out the other side. So limit that duration of exposure. And then limit the frequency. So don't be going to the grocery store every day, right? You want to get a certain amount of things you can store maybe, and that way you're not going to the store every other day and increasing your exposure. Then the concentration, indoors, smaller spaces, lower ceilings, those kind of stores are probably more concentrated areas of COVID potential than others. So be aware of that, those choices. Be aware of what concentration one is subjecting oneself to. And, just the general pillars of wellness, diet, sleep, or rest, and just being discerning. Really, this is a good time to also discern what's essential. Maybe some of you already came up with that as I was rambling on here, is what's essential. You were able to take that pause and figure out what's essential, what really matters. And our lives, I think one way or the other, will never be the same. And that's the big opportunity, is to create something new. On that note, I wish you well. I wish you a COVID safe rest of your life. Signing off, Shiva.